All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to crack the code on one of the most intimidating parts of the ACT science section. You know the ones, those passages that just keep throwing experiment after experiment at you.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? You see experiment 1, you think, okay, I can handle this. Then you see experiment 2, and then, oh no, experiment 3. Your brain just kind of starts to short circuit. It feels like you're juggling 3 different puzzles with the clock ticking down. But here's the thing, and this is the big secret. They're not separate puzzles at all.
So let's start thinking of this as a challenge, not a problem. The multi-experiment challenge. And really, the key to crushing it is just a small shift in how you look at it. Because here's the deal. These experiments, they're not just random. They might look different. Maybe they're changing different variables or using different equipment, but they're all connected. They are all pieces of one big puzzle, all working together to answer one single central question. And that is the mindset you have to get into. Stop seeing it as 3 totally separate things. Instead, think of it as one investigation, just told in a few different parts. Seriously, if you can make that one little switch in your brain, everything else is going to start clicking into place. So the question is, how do we actually do that? How do we apply this new way of thinking? Well, we're going to use a simple 4-step game plan. This is your strategy to master these passages every single time. Okay, here it is. This is your roadmap. Step 1, skim the experiments. Step 2, find the pattern. Step 3, summarize the findings. And step 4, answer the grouped questions. Simple, right? We're going to break down each one so this becomes second nature to you on test day. All right, let's talk about step 1, skim the experiments. Now, when I say skim, I mean skim. We're not reading every single word here. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to get in, figure out what's going on, and get out fast. For each little experiment, you just need to ask yourself 2 simple questions. First, what are they changing on purpose? That's your independent variable. And second, what are they measuring to see what happens? That's your dependent variable. Just find those 2 things, make a quick mental note, and boom, you're on to the next one. Okay, step 2, find the pattern. This is where the magic really starts to happen. This is where you zoom out and start connecting the dots between all the experiments. So what's the relationship here? Is experiment 2 just confirming what experiment 1 found, or maybe it's doing the complete opposite? You have to actively look for how they connect, because I can promise you the ACT is absolutely going to ask you about it. Yeah, you really have to put on your detective hat here. Each experiment is a clue, and your job is to figure out how all these clues fit together to tell the whole story. And that brings us to step 3, summarize the findings. So you found the pattern, you see how they connect. Now your job is to boil it all down. Can you describe the relationship in just one simple sentence? Look, your summary is probably going to be one of 2 things. Either the results agree or they don't. So if they agree, your little mental note might be something like, okay, experiment 1 showed this thing increases, and yeah, experiment 2 basically says the same thing. But if they're different, it's more like, whoa, experiment 1 shows this, but experiment 2 shows something totally different. Getting that comparison locked in your head, that is your secret weapon for the questions. And finally, we get to the payoff. Step 4, answer those questions. All that work you just did, the skimming, the pattern finding, the summarizing, it all leads to this. You've got that big picture summary in your mind, and now you're totally ready to nail those questions that ask you to pull everything together. The trick here is to let the question guide you. If it asks about all experiments or the overall trend, you use that big summary you made. But if it zooms in and asks you to compare just experiment 1 and 2, then you focus only on what's different between those 2. It's all about matching your focus to what the question is asking. Now, having this game plan is awesome. It's half the battle. But the other half is knowing about the common traps that are waiting for you so you can just, walk right around them. So let's talk about the biggest mistakes people make. Number 1, they treat each experiment like it's on its own deserted island. They totally miss the connection between them. Number 2, they get sloppy with the details, like the units and variables. You gotta double check that stuff. And number 3, this is a huge one. They try to use what they learned in science class. Don't do it. This is not a science test, it's a reading test. Every single answer has to come only from what's on the page. See, when you avoid those traps and you stick to the 4-step plan, you're not just a test taker anymore. You're actually starting to think like a scientist. You're thinking like the people who actually designed these experiments. So just to wrap it up, 2 quick things to remember on test day. First, look for those key words in the questions. Words like all experiments, combined results, overall trend. They're like little signposts telling you what to do. And second, as you're looking at the data, actually talk to yourself in your head using comparing words. Is this number more than that one? Is this trend the same as the other one? It forces you to focus on the relationships, which is the whole point.
Really, at the end of the day, it all boils down to asking yourself one simple question. This should be your mantra. What do these experiments together tell us? Asking that forces you to put the pieces together, and that is the absolute key to finding the right answers. So, next time one of these passages pops up on your screen, you've got the game plan. You have the right mindset. You can take it on with confidence. The question isn't going to be, oh man, can I do this anymore? It's going to be, all right, which one of these questions am I going to crush first? You got this.